What is going on there, everyone? Well, this is my second time having to make this video because the first time I didn't turn my damn microphone on. You gotta love that type of thing. Alright, let's get into it. Blakeman, this is from the Daily Wire. There's no requirement for Senate to hold impeachment trial. Trump agrees. I do too. I think, as we're seeing from all of the polls now, or at least the majority of polls, I should say. Yeah, it seems like the American public is starting to agree that this impeachment is complete nonsense also. So, good job, Democrats. In an op-ed for The Hill published Monday, Bradley A. Blakeman, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush and an adjunct professor of public policy and international affairs at Georgetown University, argues that there's no requirement or need for an actual trial in the Senate. President Trump has since made clear that he agrees. And like I said, the polls are starting to show that a majority of the American people are starting to agree with that notion also. When the House Democrats finally hand over the two articles of impeachment for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress to the Republican-controlled Senate, House Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has at least 5 options, Blakeman explains. One of those options, he argues, is to simply dismiss the trial altogether. I think that should be exactly what happens here. The Senate could entertain a motion by the President's counsel to dismiss, before the start of the trial, both articles of impeachment for failure to meet the constitutional threshold for stating a cause of action, Blakeman writes. The decision would require only a simple majority vote of 51 to pass, because it's a procedural motion. After detailing 4 other options, Blakeman lays out unequivocally where he stands. In my opinion, a trial is unnecessary. The House articles on their face are defective. Both fail to meet the constitutional threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors. This would negate a trial, but does not give the President any formal acquittal after a trial on the merits of the articles, which would prove the President's innocence. While this would be true in a traditional criminal judicial proceeding, this is not the case in a political trial. No matter how the Senate deals with the articles of impeachment, Democrats and Republicans will put their own political spin on the outcome. Since the House articles of impeachment were voted strictly on party lines, and the country is so divided on the whole impeachment process, in my opinion, a trial is less important. A trial at this point, after seeing what the left calls evidence, there's no need for a trial, because there's no actual evidence there. None of their witnesses were firsthand on the trial, or on the call with President Zelensky of the Ukraine. These were just people that heard other people talking and didn't like what they were hearing from those other people, even though those other people could have very much just been putting an anti-Trump feelings type of narrative on what they were saying. Because none of these people were on the actual call, so they don't know what was said. It's ridiculous. The President released the transcript of the phone call. We've seen what was said. There was nothing bad there. There was no, you have to do this in order to get this. None of that was ever said. Come on. Citing Blakeman, Trump wrote, I happen to believe as a lawyer the charges are defective. Well, Trump's not a lawyer. So, that's kind of a weird statement. But Trump writes all kinds of weird statements all the time. And they don't meet constitutional standards of high crimes and misdemeanors. Agreed. So I would like to see a motion to dismiss. At least 51 Republican senators would agree with that. There should be no trial. Nancy Pelosi has no leverage over the Senate, Trump added in a follow-up tweet. Again quoting Blakeman, Mitch McConnell did not nose his way into the impeachment process in the House, and she has no standing in the Senate, which is factually true. This whole thing with her saying, oh, I just want to make sure we can get our way. Yeah, you have no rights to that now. You've done your part. The House is over. all of y'all that have power in the House, sorry. You've had your time to prove your case, but you didn't. You didn't do a good job. The American public, everybody will tell you. Even the left-wing pundits are saying, they did a really bad job. Yeah, because you did. You did a horrible job. If you were trying to prove your case, you did exactly the opposite. You proved the president's case that this is nothing but a political hit job. That's all it was. Very, very clear to see. Very simple. In his op-ed for The Hill, Blakeman goes on to outline the other four options he maintains are available to Senate Republicans. If McConnell chooses not to dismiss the trial outright, he could begin the trial, but quickly end it whenever the Senate majority deems it has heard enough and calls for the vote. Republicans would need to be certain that impeachment does not have two-thirds approval, a near impossibility. Yeah, it's not going to have... the Senate just should go on and vote. McConnell could also take the opposite approach, conducting a full-blown trial, deliberately dragging it out and calling a variety of witnesses, as long as the Senate majority feels doing so is in its interest. This option, Blakeman predicts, would result in the Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts being forced to intervene and issue numerous rulings, some of which would be unpredictable in their outcomes. Another option, hold the trial, but then vote for dismissal, a procedural motion requiring a simple majority. I think that's probably the route that the Republicans are actually going to go down simply for, that would probably be the best for optics, honestly. Go in there, have this nonsensical trial that's going to mean nothing because, it will also be on party lines. It'll just be on the opposing party lines. That's the problem with this whole impeachment sham. This whole thing is just a political farce. It's just a smoke and mirrors show that the Democrats did to try to make themselves feel better. Because they have Trump derangement syndrome like we've never seen before. I truly thought that, the day after Trump was elected and we saw all these people, these SJWs and liberals just literally screaming in the streets because they had lost their mind for no real reason. I thought, this is going to wear off. This will wear off. There's no way they can be so ridiculous as to act like children for his whole presidency. And boy, was I horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. I can't believe it. It really makes me look down upon members of my country. And that's sad. That's pretty pathetic. But yeah, what can you do? Go figure. And go figure it's mainly privileged, college-educated, white liberals that are causing all this nonsense in our country. Makes you kind of have some questions. But yeah, that's another story. Finally, Blakeman argues Republicans could employ the nuclear option. Make a procedural motion to adjourn the start of the trial until November 4th, 2020, allowing voters to decide Trump's fate. That option would also would only require a simple majority vote. I don't think that's the best thing. We don't need this to keep continuing on. We don't need this to be hanging over the president's head. It just needs to go away because it's nonsense from the very inception. It's been nonsense. That's all this is. It's my feels got hurt. Orange man bad. I don't like Orange man's policies. Well, guess what? His policies are working very good for this country right now. Sure, you can argue with some of them. Yes. You're the opposing party. I get that. You're going to argue. But to completely lose all sense of reality over this, which the left has done, the whole left, whether it comes to the propaganda arm of the legacy media of the left, or whether it's down to some of the just simple liberals walking around your local streets that have lost their mind and have Trump derangement syndrome. It's pathetic. I truly believe they should move to fully acquit. Come on. It's nonsense, people. It's nonsense. The Democrats are already, like, I think it was the day before yesterday, the day Christmas Eve, the Democrats already came out and said that they're thinking about filing new impeachment articles. They haven't even handed in the two they got already. This is where we're at. I can't keep listening to these people. I can't keep listening to these people. They're out of their minds. They're out. And they're dragging all of us down with them. They're trying to tear everything down and trying to bring us along for the ride. This is what we got to deal with. The left has become too authoritarian for most. They truly want to be dictators. They want to dictate every aspect of your life. I mean, this is pathetic. This is pathetic. But I kind of like it at the same time. Because the more this drags on, the more Nancy Pelosi shows her just complete nonsensical ignorance by holding on to these articles of impeachment instead of passing them to the House, which she is exactly supposed to do because the House is done. She is done. But she refuses to hand them over just because she knows. She knows she made a weak case. There's nothing there. And he's going to get acquitted. And all this is going to do is further make the Democrats look bad. Which it should, because the Democrats aren't the Democrats anymore. They're not the same Democratic Party we've always known. They're out of their minds. They've lost it. They've lost it. Oh well, I mean, what can you say? It's pretty sad when we see one half of our government completely lose their minds. That's pretty sad. That's a big problem for our country. And it seems the left, all they keep doing is pushing their moderates out. I mean, we got Democrats that are coming over to the Republican Party when their ideology and thinking is not like the Republicans at all, but they feel closer to the Republican Party than their own Democratic Party. That should let all you Democrats out there know your party is failing you. Not the country, you. Well, I mean, of course it's failing the country, but that goes without saying. But I'd love to hear your comments on this. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you all on the flip side.